I'm playing in the best 1-3 game in all of Texas, where stacks like this and pots like this are considered normal. I've been crushing higher stake games for the past month straight, so this game should be easy, right? Let's see if we can build up a massive stack and book a huge win in the best 1-3 game in all of Texas. All right, y'all, I got a special episode for y'all today, okay? For the past month, I've been playing nothing but higher stake games, but today, I'm returning home to the 1-3 streets where I belong. It's not gonna be your typical 1-3 game. I'm going to the Fort Card Room in Aledo, Texas, where it's basically 5-10. Theoretically, I should crush this game. I've been killing these higher stake games, so I should crush this 1-3 game. If I don't, then I guess I'm a bad player and I've just been running hot, and that's perfectly fine with me. I don't care. Now, I hate to tell you guys this, but for the past month, I've been keeping the secret sauce from you guys on how to run hot, okay? But y'all been showing love, so I'm gonna put y'all on, all right? Anytime, any day you're gonna go play poker, you have to do these 3 things. Step 1, you have to get a lift in. Step 2, you need a fresh cut, okay? What is this? Get a cut. The third and final step, this is the most important out of all 3 of them, okay? You have to do this one. Whatever casino or card room you're going to, you have to make sure it's at least an hour-long drive, okay? And the more traffic you hit, the better. And just like that, we've completed all 3 steps. Step 3 went amazing. I hit a ton of traffic. So with that being said, I should run amazing. There's no reason why I shouldn't flop at least 4 sets, hit 90% of my draws and get every single bluff. There's no reason. I hit like 40 minutes of traffic. So enough said. Shut your mouth. Let's lock in. Let's go. At the Fort, you can buy into the 1-3 game for $1,000. So I take $1,000 to the cage, get my chips, and go take my seat. As always, I'm at a super fun table. People are laughing, cracking jokes, and playing pretty loose. The number one thing that I've learned about players at the Fort is they love to do one thing: call. Call, call, call. That's it. You could 3-bet and get called by 4 people who originally limped. This place is literally the nuts. Let me show you what I mean. I'm on the button straddle, which by the way is OP. You get ultimate last action. I look down at Queen 10. The cutoff and small blind both limp for $10. I bump it up to 50, and they both call. We completely whiff the flop, but action checks to me. I see bet for 35. The small blind calls and the cutoff folds. Now we're heads up. The turn obviously gives us top pair. The small blind checks again. I'm pretty sure he either has a 9 or a flush draw. Either way, if I go big here on the turn, he'll probably think I'm bluffing and call. I bet $200. He's in the blender. You can't see it, but he shows me ace-jack. He limp called pre, called my flop bet, and then almost called a pot-sized bet on the turn with ace-high. So y'all get the gist. The tables are soft, but the players aren't afraid to put money in the middle with weak hands. 5 minutes later, I pick up a premium, pocket kings. Open a 20, get called by 2 players, see bet the flop, and win $40. Not a big pot, but when you win 20 pots like this over the course of a 5-hour session, trust me, it adds up. Now we're back on the button straddle, this time with pocket 4s. Per usual, the under the gun, small blind, and big blind all in. I announce,
Juice it up a little bit.
And all 3 limpers call the 35. The flop is exactly what we were hoping for. It's Jack 3-4 giving us middle set. If any of these guys have a jack or even a flush draw, we can get stacks in the middle real quick. Action checks to me. I see bet for $40. The small blind calls and the other 2 players fold. We're heads up. The turn is the king of diamonds. My opponent checks again. He's the same guy that almost called our pot-sized bet with just ace high in the first hand. If he has a jack, he's not folding. I bet 125 and he snap folds. No clue what he had, but we're chipping up. Another added element to these games at the Fort is their double board PLO bomb pots. I suck at these, but if you can run good in them, you can win piles of money. In the first bomb pot I play, I look down at 5-5-8-9. The top board gives us top pair with tons of backdoor draws, and the bottom board gives us middle set. The player to my left pots it for 40. The cutoff calls, and so do I. The turn on the top board is a 9, giving us 2 pair. The bottom turn is a 3. Action checks to the cutoff now, and he pots it for $160. I have to assume we're beat on at least one board, but all we need to do is win one of these boards to at least chop the pot. I put in the call. The player to my left folds. We're heads up, and the pot's already close to $500. The top river is a king of diamonds, which doesn't help our hand at all. But the bottom river is another 3, giving us a full house on that board. My opponent only has 285 left in his stack. I put him all in. He doesn't snap call, so we're at least chopping. But then he says this.
Do you have the bottom?
I know he doesn't have sevens full on the bottom board because he would have already called by now. He most likely has a straight or trip 3s. Either way, we have the winning hand on both boards. We're rooting for a call. After tanking for over a full minute, he calls. I show my hand and he shows ace 4, 7, 10 for a straight on the bottom and only a pair of 7s on top. We're scooping the entire pot. I make almost $600, a pure profit that hand. I win another small pot with ace queen suited before this hand happens. I'm in the big blind with king jack. There's one limp before the cutoff makes it 15. The button calls, I call, and so does a limper. We're going 4 ways to a flop. It comes king jack 6, giving us top 2 pair. I start out with the check, the +1 checks, and now it's on the initial raiser. He continues for 15. The button folds, and now it's on me. I could go for a raise here, but the board's rainbow, and besides a few straight draws, there's really nothing to be afraid of. I decide to just call. The +1 comes along as well. We're going 3 ways to a turn, and it's a brick. I have a feeling this turn might check through, so I decide to take the betting lead. I bet $85. The +1 folds, and it's on the cutoff. He's in the tank. He calls. We're going heads up to a river. It's another 5 pairing the board. If he has a hand like ace king or king queen, I don't think he's ever folding. I put on an overbet for $300. He thinks about it, but sadly folds. I still like my bet on the river. At this point in the night, I was absolutely starving. Thankfully, the Ford has a food truck that is absolute gas. I ordered this juicy chicken sandwich with these crispy fries. I devour all this in about 5 minutes. Now let's get back to playing some poker. I'm in the cutoff and look down at queen 10 offsuit. There's one limp before the hijack makes it 15. I've 3-bet maybe one time since I've sat down. So even though my hand isn't that good, I should get a lot of credit for a strong hand if I 3-bet. I make it 45, hoping to just isolate the hijack. Obviously, we don't accomplish that. The small blind, limper, and hijack all call. We're going 4 ways to a flop in a 3-bet pot. It's straight garbage, but that doesn't really matter. Action checks all the way to me. These players are going to have so many hands that just completely whiff this flop. And if for some reason they did connect with this board, we can really put the pressure on if a face card peels off on the turn. I bet half pot for $90. The small blind folds, the under gun folds, but the hijack folds. We make $135 this hand with absolute air. I'm not joking when I tell y'all there were multiple hands exactly like this. Literally 5 minutes later, I pick up ace jack, there's a limp and a raise to 20. I make it 50. The initial raiser calls, we whiff the flop once again, but he checks, I c-bet, and he folds. We're literally printing money without even having to make a pair. We're up almost $1,000 now, and we really haven't been faced with any tough spots. But that is about to change. I'm in the big blind with 8-6 of diamonds. There's 3 limps before the hijack makes it 30. The button calls, the big blind calls, I call, and so do 2 of the limpers. We're going 6 ways to a flop. We flop an open-ended straight draw. Action checks all the way over to the button. He bets $90. The small blind calls. There's a chance the button isn't that strong and only bet because everyone else showed weakness. I considered putting in a raise, but we're getting a great price to call and potentially hit our draw. I decided to just call. The other 3 players all fold. We're going 3 ways to a turn, looking for a 10 or a 5. It's neither. But we do make a pair. The small blind checks, I check, but the button does not. He bets $300. The small blind gets out of the way, and now it's on me. I'm 90% sure he has a set or 2 pair. I don't think he bet this turn with just 1 pair. If that's what I'm putting him on, that means our 2 pair and trip outs are dead. Do we jam as a semi-bluff? I just don't think he's ever folding here. Like I said at the beginning, these guys love to call. He has around $600 left in his stack. If I call and make my straight, I can probably get the rest of his stack. But we're just not getting the right price to call. I fold. He doesn't show, but I'm confident we made the right laydown. Exactly 2 hands later, this happens. I'm on the button straddle with king jack. As always, there's 3 limps before the cutoff makes it 55. One by one, they all fold. But I'm in position. I put in the call. We're going heads up. The flop comes jack high with 2 hearts. My opponent c-bets for $40. Although there's a flush draw on board, I don't think raising is a good idea. I think we're either way ahead or way behind. I just call. The turn is a 6 of spades. Now my opponent decides to check. When he checks, I'm confident he doesn't have an overpair. I think he just has 2 overs or a medium pocket pair at best. Now the question is, do we bet and try to deny any equity he has, or do we check and allow him to potentially bluff on the river? I decide to bet $85. Then this happens.
All in?
How much you have? 444.
I was not expecting that, but I really feel like we have the best hand. I don't think he'd check an overpair on the turn. I think he has a hand like ace-queen or ace-10 of hearts. After going back and forth between calling or folding, I finally decide to call. We're running it twice for a pot of over $1,100 in a 1-3 game, and we still don't know what he has. The first river is an 8 of hearts. That might not be good. And the second river is a 6 of hearts. That also might not be good. If he had a flush draw, we just lost both boards. I show my hand, and he mucks. You can't see it, but he did show ace-10 for just a pair of 10s. Just like that, we're taking down a massive pot, and we have a mountain of chips in front of us. I'm literally still stacking my chips from that last hand when I look down at ace-9 of diamonds. There's a raise to 15 from under the gun and a call from the +1. I call as well. We're going 3 ways to a flop. It comes 6-9-6 with 2 hearts. Under the gun checks, and the +1 bets $25. I call, under the gun folds, now we're heads up. The turn is a jack, and here's where the hand gets interesting. The +1 bets again, this time for $60. I just really didn't think he had a 6 here. It felt like he had a straight or flush draw and was just trying to name his price to see a river. I think we have the best hand at the moment, so I put in a raise to $150. If he raises, we can just fold. And if he calls, he's most likely going to check to us on the river, so we're almost guaranteed to get to showdown. He's in the tank for over a full minute. And he folds. We take down one last pot before we decide to call it a night. All right, before we get into these results, comment below. Do y'all want to see me incorporate some more of these low stake 1-3 sessions, or do y'all just want to see me play medium to higher stake games? Personally, I loved playing 1-3. Not a lot of stress, still played some big pots, and the results were crazy. And speaking of results, here's what they were. Bought in the game for $1,000. Cashed out for $2,175. That means playing 1-3 for 5 hours on a Tuesday night in Aledo, Texas at the Fort Card Room with the full moon outside. We won $1,175. That's insane. And that means the heater continues. And next video, it ain't gonna be that easy. That's all I'm gonna tell you guys. We're playing in the most action-packed game in all of Dallas, and I'm not exaggerating, okay? Until next time, do 2 things for me, okay? Number 1, shut your mouth. And number 2, lock in. Peace.